What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. And this time we are here with Bryan of Fame on Fire. Thank you so much for your time today, man. It's great to be able to chat with you.
Appreciate it, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So the newest album is Levels, which came out in 2020. Great, great album. Great to be able to talk with you about it. You just want to talk about like how the making of this album was? Was there kind of like a preconceived idea and what you wanted Levels to sound like? How did Levels sort of like see the light of day?
Yeah, there was definitely an idea behind it. We started really taking a lot of influence from what modern hip hop was doing. So we wanted it to sound like kind of we hit a cover of XO Tour Life, and that cover to us was like, oh, this is what we want our sound to be like. And so I feel like that really shaped us in how we wanted Levels to sound. So Levels, a lot of the songs on Levels started off as hip hop beats that our guitar player Blake would produce, and he would send them to us and say, hey, what do you think about these beats? And it'd be like me trying to hit vocals over the beat, so we could share it, put it back and forth, things like that. And so that's how a lot of those songs were formed, was from a hip hop beat. So those hip hop elements of like this, I guess, emo trap, were kind of on the forefront and kind of like the sound that we were going for when it came to Levels.
Mhm.
So that's where a lot of the musicality of it comes from, is from hip hop influence.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is everybody's heard the term new metal before, and I'm thinking with bands
Yeah,
like Fame on Fire as well as Concrete Dream or Dropout Kings, I've been calling it newer metal, Nuer, because it does kind of
literally.
because it does continue in a
Yeah.
similar vein of that hybrid effect. I think like with bands like what Crown the Empire or Dance Gavin Dance or I Prevail have been doing, or it's kind of like that sort of vibe. And uh, do you is it fair to say that both of you are like equally inspired by hip hop as you are by metal? It seems like you don't have like you're not just strict metalheads or just strict rock fans or anything like that, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Blake is definitely the super hip hop head out of us two. Blake loves hip hop. Like literally, it's the only thing he really listens to. Is a lot of hip hop. Just super underground artists too. Like people that like I've never heard of in my life. He'll listen to. I like to listen to more mainstream people or people that I've heard. Now, a big thing about me though is that I grew up listening to more hip hop than I did rock. I didn't find rock until I was like 15, 16. So it was for me and Blake, like Blake grew up listening to rock and then found hip hop later. I grew up listening to hip hop, found rock later.
Mhm.
And so it is true to us. It's exactly who we are. And it's all the influences that I feel like a lot of people, in our generation or like that are our age, younger, that's what they grew up listening to as well. A lot of Linkin Park and hip hop and things like that. Just the combination of the two are rock and hip hop. And so why not combine the two modern sounds?
Well, I think that's one of the greatest things about our. I mean, I was born in 1993. I don't know if you were born in that similar time frame, but you were 93.
Yep, I too.
92. Hell yeah. But like think about like the time when we were born. We were born during the time when grunge was sort of fading out, and then it was going more into like the alternative rock, and then it led into new metal, then it led into metalcore, and then it led into emo, and then it led into, a lot of this hip hop. I think we've gotten to see the style of music grow so much, and I think like really the future of music is I consider to be genreless eventually, and I really
Yes.
think that Levels, that album is a great representation on how the future is potentially genreless.
Thank you, man. That means a lot, actually, because that's what we want. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to push the image of rock and evolve rock into the next stage of it all. We want rock to be genreless. We don't even want it to be called rock anymore. It is new metal
Yeah,
or newer new metal,
yeah,
whatever, because it's almost like you got to blur the lines because it needs to be obtainable for everybody to listen to and everybody to enjoy.
yeah,
That's the big thing.
yeah,
I do think there's going to be really two main genres. There's going to be the music that you can dance to, and then there's going to be the alternative type music, which is what we are.
yeah. Well, what's interesting is I'm starting to notice people becoming less genre specific. I reference this show all the time, but like I when I was at Louder Than Life Festival in 2019, I saw Ice Cube play right before Godsmack and Guns N' Roses, and like the audience was just equally into it the whole time.
Yeah, and that's fucking sick. I think that every show should be like that. Because I'm gonna be honest, I've been to so many rock shows. You you same as you probably, but I get so tired of hearing the same shit over and over again because it all starts to sound the same to me. It all begins to get a little mundane, a little boring. I don't care to go to a show and see a rock artist play after another rock artist play after another rock artist. I want to see hip hop in there. I want to see a pop act. I want to see a country artist in there. You know, I want to go to a show and enjoy all different genres. I don't want to just enjoy one genre on repeat because, you know, at even a metalcore show or a post-hardcore show, all these bands start sounding the same.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the end, like I think there's a benefit to both. Like I go to Summer Slaughter every year pre-COVID, and that's all death metal band, deathcore bands, and that's the type of show where you really get a bang for your buck. That's a show where people just want to let out a full day of death metal while drinking beer. I think it really depends. Well, that's why I like.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I like festivals where there's a variety, but I think there's a benefit to both because somebody who is into who wants to listen to Infant Annihilator, you may have them have a harder time getting them into a Third Eye Blind show. But I think in the end, people are getting more and more open minded. Will listen to anything between Halsey and Emperor. So
yeah, that's sick. I love it. You're not wrong though, and I do get why a lot of shows are put together because it's like you guys have common audience interest, so you guys are going on tour together.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah,
and it's interesting.
Yeah, and there's some bands that make it work better than others. Like I think a good example is a band like All That Remains. I mean, they toured with Black Dahlia Murder and Death Clock and Machine Head, but then they also bring out like rock bands. Like they toured with Lacuna Coil, and then they toured with like Fozzy. So I think in the end,
yeah, and I think that's why they're so. That's why I think they're such like a massive metalcore band is because they can appeal to the death metal crowd, and they can also appeal to the more butt rock crowd.
Yeah. For you, for going back to your style though, being a vocalist, do you also consider your music to be conceptually driven? Like, do you find that maybe like a lyrical idea or a concept can maybe influence the composition of the song itself?
Mm, yeah, yeah, but I actually think it's the other way around. I think that the music can influence the lyrics.
Okay.
So I don't ever write lyrics first. I always write lyrics after. So it's always like, what does this song make me feel? Does it make me feel happy? Does it make me feel sad? Does it make me feel like I'm missing something? Does it make me feel empty? What does this song really make me feel? And so that's where I'll like pull the lyrics from. The way the music is making me feel the song, not the way that I'm not going to go into a song and go, hey, I want to write this song about this. Because I need the song to kind of give it to me.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like there are many different vibes behind it. Because going from a song like "Crazy for Your Crazy" to a song like "It's Okay" to a song like "So Sad" to "Scars of Love," it almost seems like every song kind of like had a different vibe or a different emotion behind it.
Yeah, and we really wanted to do that. And also, I did see like some comments out there where it's like, oh, they wrote every single song about a girl. It's like, guys, literally, I think one song on the album is about a girl.
Yeah, well, music is open to interpretation, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But literally, one song on the album is about a girl. I'm not trying to pull a bullet for my Valentine.
I don't think they wrote every song about a girl too. Come on, "Eye of the Storm," "Waking the Demon," that ain't, or "Scream, Aim, and Fire."
No, okay, not those songs, not particularly that album, but like the what is the
Poison? Yeah.
Yeah, that album though for sure.
Everybody had a copy of that when I was in high school.
Yeah, same. I mean, that album was fucking sick. "Hand of Blood" is just such a good song.
Yeah, I can't get enough of that album. I find myself returning to that quite frequently.
Yeah. Also, their mixes aged so well.
Right. right?
Yeah.
And they're another band. Like, I mean, Scream Aim Fire. I mean, the Poison can be labeled as being emo. I understand the title behind that, but Scream Aim and Fire. I mean, that could be a thrash metal album almost.
Yeah, it pretty much is. They definitely got me more into thrash metal than any other metalcore band did.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
they were sick.
Yeah.
That's a great album,
Now, because with Fame on Fire, do you feel like that Levels is going to be kind of like the direction that you're going to be going to from now on? Do you think that you're going to like stick with this particular sound, or do you maybe want to experiment a little bit more with your style?
So we have been working on our second LP now, and I've always been a believer of the mindset. One thing should not always sound like the other thing, even if you think it worked. You can always make it. You can always make things just better and different and more creative. I don't want to. I don't want to be comfortable. You know, I don't want to write a safe song. I don't want to write a song that I go, I know people are going to enjoy this because they're enjoying Levels. I don't want to do that. I'm going to write a song that I feel very strongly about, and I think that's going to be artsy and push the boundaries more than playing the safe route. Because, someone brought this up to me recently. It's like ACDC has always sounded the same, but they're continuously massive, a lot of their songs sound very similar to one another. A lot of their albums sound very similar to one another. But they're continually massive, and I respect that. But for me, I look up to the bands like Avenged Sevenfold and even Bring Me the Horizon, who's always changed their sound album to album, always pushed the envelope further, always solidified their ability to create really creative music. And so that's something for my band that I really want to do as well. Because our first EP, our only EP, which was called Transitions, that had a more, there was some more rocky elements to it, but it definitely had a more of a funkier type, just like a bit of a happier vibe. And, Levels is a bit of a darker vibe, a heavier vibe. And, going into the next album, whatever the name of it is, we want to have it to be a just more genre breaking vibe to it. Almost what even am I listening to? It sounds good, but I don't even know what genre this is anymore. And that's not to say that's not going to be heavy, because everything we do is going to be heavy. But we really just want to push the envelope of rock music.
Yeah. Well, heavy is such a subjective term nowadays. Like, I remember I was talking to somebody at a bar one time, and they like asked me, "Oh, is the music you listen to?" Because I love like black metal and death metal and all that. And they were like, "Oh, do you is the music you listen to heavy like Creed?" They would think Creed is like devil music. So
Yeah, that's great. It's so funny. Heavy is so subjective too, though. But like heavy in the sense of like you can be heavy, but like it not sound heavy. I guess Creed to me that's crazy. I mean, they probably have one heavy song.
I mean,
Just like
their song on Overcome Bullets. I mean, that's actually a pretty. I mean, I'm gonna get so much hate on YouTube, and I don't care. But like, Bullets is a pretty hard, heavy song. Like Scott Stapp did a solo tour, and he played some Creed songs, and he opened up with that, and there was a mosh pit. Like, it was pretty epic.
that's sick. I know that Nickelback has some pretty heavy songs, especially like early Nickelback.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
And also like something they released in like 2017, I think 2016, Feed the Machine. That riff, that intro riff is heavy as shit, and it's sick.
yeah,
But yeah, it's super subjective because for me, I personally don't think black metal's that heavy.
wow.
I Yeah, I also don't think death metal's very heavy. I think death metal is actually kind of boring.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's true. Like blast beats and like just breakdowns don't really do it for me that much. But like something like a deathcore is heavy to me. Like I like deathcore. There's this one band name. They have a song called Daggertooth. Those Who Fear. You ever listen to them?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that band is one of the heaviest bands I've ever heard, easily. I went on a journey one time in my life where I was like, someone show me the heaviest band that they've heard, because post-hardcore, that shit is not heavy at all. And black metal, had my fair share of black metal. I like black metal, but I don't think it's heavy. Death metal, I don't really think death metal is that heavy, but deathcore definitely is heavy. But like heavy is also like how you base your dynamics in your song. You know, how you balance out the parts. Because there's songs like what is it? It's a North Lane song. I don't remember the Disposition, I think. And it comes in with like a DI guitar, and then it just goes into like a heavy riff with just screams over it. I'm like, that's heavy. That's good.
Yeah.
So it's super subjective though.
Yeah, and I consider your music. I mean, is it infant? Does your music sound like Infant Annihilator? No, but like I think like, but I think on an emotional level, your music is very very heavy. I think your
Yeah,
music really pulls on the heartstrings. It's heavy on the heart.
yeah. And that's another big thing of how to like portray heavy is the emotion behind the heavy. That's why for death metal, there's not really a lot of emotion in death metal for me. So maybe that's why I don't believe it's heavy. Um, but in a song like Her Eyes, you had this like build up in the bridge that goes into like a scream into a breakdown. And now it's on a technical standpoint, that breakdown's not the heaviest breakdown you've ever heard in your life. But it's the journey and the dynamics through that song that makes that breakdown so much more impactful.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is heavy.
Would you consider every song on Levels to be like representative of an emotion that you and the other members were feeling at that particular time in a way?
Yeah, not necessarily at that time of that song, but definitely within the last 3 years, for sure.
Mhm.
And it's not even just the other members; it's really just me. Um, with when it comes to lyrics, the boys let me do what I want to do. They know that I need to believe in what I'm singing in order for it to make sense to me, in order for it to make sense to the audience, because audiences aren't stupid. They're gonna be able to tell when you're full of shit. They're gonna be able to tell when you've worked with just an LA songwriter and they wrote your music for you. And that's something that I really didn't want to do. I wanted to have something that was just true and emotional to me.
Mhm. Do you
And
feel
so I feel like that's why. Sorry,
No,
go
I
on.
I was just gonna ask, like, do you feel that like maybe the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to kind of like maintain the emotion that originally driven that song or that writing process?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely can, but I have a really like I'm really good at staying like I guess not mentally healthy in the weirdest way. I'm really good at like almost meditating and sitting down and going back to these like I don't want to say traumatic because none of my experiences are truly traumatic. I mean, like I've definitely had my fair share, but these very emotional times. I'm really good at going back and looking at them and just understanding them and figuring out how I want to portray this in a song to tell my story, because if I tell my story, maybe I can help somebody out that's going through something similar or that they can relate to these lyrics in some way that like, I've been through this and it makes me feel good that knowing somebody else has gone through this.
Definitely, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go, I just want to thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for a great discussion. It was cool to be able to also nerd out about music. And is there just anything else with Fame on Fire that you would like to promote, like with Levels? You're working on some new music now. Is there just anything else that you would like to plug?
You guys can follow us on TikTok. It's just Fame on Fire Band, I think. I think it's Fame on Fire Band. Hold on.
Fact check.
Yeah, yeah, I need to fact check this. You guys can go to fameonfireband.com though. Follow us there. Let me see what's going on TikTok here. There's just Fame on Fire on TikTok. We are verified. You guys can follow us on TikTok. We post almost daily videos of just little snippet covers, things like that. You guys can go to our website, fameonfireband.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Just Fame on Fire. Just Google it; it'll pop up. I promise. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We've just been trying to release a lot of content in 2021, then hopefully release some new singles soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bryan. Everybody, we are here with Bryan of Fame on Fire. Be sure to check out Levels if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.